Danny Raskin. He's the Cal Ripken and Lou Gehrig of column writing. Danny Raskin, man about town. Anytime he walks into a place, people notice. Danny Raskin, the man who advises restaurateurs, and maybe, just maybe, they'll listen to him. Danny Raskin, the man who ate banana cream pie with the Purple Gang and partied with the Rat Pack in Las Vegas. We're talking about Danny Raskin, and on March 27th, 1942, Danny Raskin joined the Detroit Jewish News, the very first issue ever printed of the Detroit Jewish News. As he likes to say, Phil Slomovitz, who founded the Detroit Jewish News, invited him to come and work for him. And Danny says, I never thought it would make it. And here we are, the Detroit Jewish News and Danny Raskin, almost 75 years later, still linked at the hip, still serving the Jewish community and the general community. So what you are about to see are Danny Raskin's recollections. Recollections of a career that's storied, a career that's unrivaled, a career of jokes, a career of ups, a career of maybe a few disappointments. But mostly what you'll see and what you'll hear are the words of the sage of Detroit, the man about town, the person who, hopefully for the 100th anniversary of the Jewish News, will still be writing restaurant reviews, will still be out and about and paying, or at least offering to pay, for his meals. So enjoy. Thanks. You know, one of the things that I did is I looked back at our 50th anniversary issue, Danny, and there was a great story that Phil Jacobs, who was our editor at the time, had done on you. And one of the things that you said to Phil was, quote, writing is in my blood. It keeps me going, and it keeps me from ever consider retiring. You love sports and you love typing. What did your mother say the first time you told her you wanted to be a writer? When did she find out that you were going to be a writer?
Probably when I was going to school, high school.
And you like sports and you like typing and you like writing.
Right.
And at what point did you just know that this is kind of what I would like to do for a career?
Well, while I was going to school, high school, I was writing for the paper there, for the Commerce High.
You joined the Jewish News in 1942.
Right.
And what you said in the 50th anniversary issue was you took the job part-time because you didn't think the paper was ever going to succeed.
Well, we already had one. We had the Jewish Chronicle then.
Yeah.
So I couldn't foresee two Jewish papers.
Right. So what was it that made you at that point say, even though you couldn't foresee two Jewish papers, that you would take a chance on this one?
Well, when Phil Slomovitz called me, I told him over the phone that if I came, I would write for him, but I would never be able to go because of the other paper. And I didn't want to tell him, I didn't want to make him feel bad and say that I don't think this is going to last long, because there wasn't room for two papers. Right.
So here we are almost 75 years later.
Right.
Would you admit that maybe you were incorrect?
I sure was incorrect. Oh, was I?
What happened? What do you think made it where the Jewish News became the primary or the dominant newspaper compared to the Chronicle, which had been around since 1916? And Phil Slomovitz, if I recall, was the editor of it at one time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. It had more substance to it. The Chronicle didn't seem to have some of the things that the young people wanted. This one does.
So one of the things you also said in that interview with Phil Jacobs for the 50th anniversary of the Jewish News was to the effect that writing is in your blood, and you couldn't imagine doing anything else, and that you'd never retire because you were always going to want to write. What was it about writing that here we are today, almost 75 years after you started at the Jewish News, where you're still writing every week?
Well, the reason why, you see, at the beginning it might have been the writing, but it got to be more than just writing. See, I have an opportunity, and I've had it for many years, to help restaurant people. And I know how much it costs to open a restaurant now, and in years I found out how much it costs. And a lot of men in the restaurant business today were not restaurateurs, and they never realized how much it would cost. And anything I can do to help them out, if they'll listen to me, I want to do it.
Now, at one point, you actually produced a record. You one record and
No, two
records.
Yeah.
And what happened then? And did you think about going into the restaurant business after the second record?
No way. I would never go in a restaurant business.
Right. Do you remember what the song's name was?
Yes, Caravan by Duke Ellington.
Uh-huh.
And there was a Mexican fellow, Carlos Valadez was his name.
Right.
He was called the Clark Gable of Mexico. Wow. And we brought him in, and he did Caravana in the Mexican.
Now, I've never heard. Can you sing a bar of it or something, or just? I mean, I just don't have a clue what it
I can hum it.
like. Can you hum it then? I mean, what?
Da 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 da.
That was yours, really?
No,
wow.
that was
famous. Everybody knows that one.
Caravan.
Wow.
Duke Ellington's song.
But you decided you'd keep your part-time job as a writer for Jewish news.
Yes, I sure did.
Right, right.
Yeah.
How did you constantly have stuff to write about where not only were you writing about it, but it was very popular among readers? I mean, how did you go about doing that?
I don't know, Arthur. I mean, it just seemed to come naturally. You know, wanting to help somebody and wanting to help people, all of a sudden things start building up inside of you. What they should do, how they should do it.
In 1945, June of 1945, you wrote a column in your Jewish Youth's Listening Post, and it was about Hank Greenberg. What was it about Hank Greenberg, as somebody like yourself who loves sports, loved to write? What did he mean for you, your friends in the 30s and 40s?
He was easy to talk to. He was very good, very nice man. He was easy to talk to. He listened, and he was willing to give you whatever answer you wanted. He was a nice guy.
There was a story where some urban archaeologists at Wayne State University were digging up an old haunt that they believed belonged to the Purple Gang. And you told a story. You told a story about having a banana cream pie with some purples at Cream of Michigan. And a little boy came running in crying because a couple of guys, a couple of toughs, were trying to do something, trying to harm his sister.
Right.
And she ran away, and they called this little boy who came running in a dirty Jew. What happened then?
Well, the boys got up and walked.
How many boys?
Huh?
How many boys do you remember?
I was sitting with two boys from the Purple Gang, yeah. And the kid came in and told them the story, and we walked out, and they told me to come along. I was just, what was I, about 15 years old, probably. So I went, and then they went around, and they seemed to know a little bit because these boys had been there before.
What happened?
Well, we went to this place. Can I tell you the name of the place?
Yeah, sure.
No, not the restaurant, but we went. Well, it was in Hamtramck. Anyway, and they went inside, and after they saw the wagon out in front, and they brought the two boys outside, and they one of them took a gun out, and the fellow they put it in his mouth. He said, and the guy turned white. Well, it was white and white, and they clicked the trigger. He said, the next time you come around 12th Street, there's going to be a bullet in there. The guy ran. They came back and they ate their pie.
I recall in January of 2002, when the Jewish News building burned to the ground,
Yeah.
And your office was a mess. But it seemed to me that the thing that bothered you most about all of the things that you had lost or had been damaged was a picture of Wayne Newton.
No. Well, that was one of them, Arthur. But don't forget, I had a picture with the Rat Pack. I had with 9/10 of the movie stars that you can think of. Oh yes, and they went up in flames. Oh yeah.
So the Rat Pack, Wayne Newton, what was it about Vegas that appealed to you so much?
Because there were so many Detroiters working there at the time. My God, every time they'd turn around, Raskin, what do you want to do tonight? Where do you want to go? What do you want to eat? What do you want to see?
Are there some memorable Detroiters who were in Vegas that
A lot of them.
see? Who were they? Do you remember any?
Oh no, I remember. Oh yes, there must have been about 30 to 40 of them. I can't name their names. Oh yeah.
How about a few of them?
Pardon me?
Who were the ones that you spent the most time with? The ones that made you feel the happiest when you went to Vegas that you would be able to spend time with?
Well, there was a fellow called Turk Brzezinski.
Turk Brzezinski?
Yeah, his real name was Herman Brzezinski, and he was like the celebrity to the celebrities. See, and whenever he'd come to town with Sid Hudson, who had Hudson Cleaners then. He's from Detroit. Sid Hodash is the last name. And between Sid and Turk, we would make the rounds of all the hotels and have fun galore and eat, and it was great.
What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Well,
would you say that you probably could have created that slogan if they asked you to years before it actually?
well, at that time, you better. At that, with the boys that had it then, you better keep it in Vegas. Oh yeah, otherwise you get a visit from a couple of guys with their noses on the other side. Yeah, oh yeah.
The two most popular things that people like to read in the Jewish news, almost neck and neck, obituaries and Danny Raskin's column. Is there a connection between obituaries and Danny Raskin's column?
Well, probably a lot of people that read my column also died after they read the column.
Was it after they read the column? After
They got
ate
sick, I
food
know.
in it?
Yeah, they got sick.
Why would a 35 or 40-year-old enjoy your column more than almost anything else, except maybe obituaries, in the paper, the same way their 70-year-old parent or 90-year-old grandparent might?
The people that are that age, in the 45 to 50 or 35, 20, even 20, love restaurants. They love to go to a good restaurant. Okay? Food is the number one with them.
As a newcomer to Detroit, how would you describe Darby's to me? What made it so special?
Well, first of all, when people would go out and they'd be at the Wonder Bar, London Chop House, they never used to say, "I'll see you later." They'll say, "I'll meet you at Darby's." See? Or, now Darby's was a triple threat operation. It was a restaurant, a bar, and a carryout. And people loved it. They loved the food. And Sam Boeski, from the Boeski, one of the Boeski boys, he owned it. He bought it from the Lurie boys. You remember? Oh, you wouldn't remember. They had Wrigley markets.
All right, okay.
Yeah. And they were partners with Sam Boeski at the time, but then Sam bought them out. And he used to stay in the kitchen and watch all the food come out before it came out. Now that was important. And the people loved that.
There's another restaurant, kind of after-hours type place, that I think also had a fire called Saxy's.
Right,
Irv Sachs and Sam Gilbert.
right.
What was that place like? What do you remember?
Well,
about
it
that?
was my favorite waitress, Pauline Barron. She was fabulous. She was a real epitome of what a waitress should be. Perfect.
And what is that? What makes a perfect waitress?
Well, she smiled. That's number one. She would serve from the left, take away from the right. She never reached across the table. She was terrific. Hey, by the way, I wanted to mention, when you took over at the Jewish News, I mean, that took over in '86. That's when you came here.
Right.
When you moved over here to where the trio used to be,
Right.
it was Buddy's Barbecue was in there. Did you know that where the barbecue pit was your first office?
No wonder I.
And you're kosher.
Right, but no wonder I would come home and my wife said I smelled like hickory. 12th and Claremont was also known for something else. That is the epicenter of where in July of 1967, the Detroit riots, the Detroit uprising.
The Alamo was there.
began. Do you recall where you were or who you were with even, or what kind of thoughts maybe were going through your mind?
God, there were so many thoughts. But see, I knew a lot of the people that were in the riot. And I know quite a few of them.
Were they?
They were nice people, nice guys. I mean, so many of them. I mean, not the ones that did the plundering, but the people that were involved or they would come there, and I knew so many of them. Wonderful people. Just I couldn't believe what was happening. I really couldn't. I don't know what happened to them. They just went berserk. See? Then after it was all over, maybe just a few days afterward, it's as if nothing had happened.
In 1993,
Yeah.
we traveled together,
Right.
along with about 1,200 other people.
Right.
We went to Israel. From everything that I understand, a very special time for you.
Well, yeah, I attended a bar mitzvah on the Masada. I remember that. I remember on the LL plane going, I didn't get a bagel. Everybody got bagels and lox.
What did you get?
Nothing. Everybody got a salami from Stardelli. I didn't get any.
Well, I know what to get you for your next birthday. It's going to be a salami from Sid Newman at Stardelli.
Right.
Was there any aha moment when you were in Israel? Anything where you just kind of said, I'm really here. I can remember before there was an Israel, I'm here.
No, but I bumped into a Detroiter from the Jewish community. He had an Army and Navy store on Ben Yehuda, is that it? Yeah, on Ben Yehuda Boulevard. Bumped into him. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I come all that way, and he's living there, and he's got that Army and Navy store.
David Hermelin. I mean, David led the trip.
Yeah. What a great guy.
What do you remember? When you think of David Hermelin, what do you think of?
He made everybody feel wonderful. He always had a joke for somebody. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So here we are. It's approaching the 75th anniversary
Right.
of the Jewish News. What do you plan on talking to me about when we're here interviewing for your 100th anniversary with the Jewish News?
I don't know what I would talk about.
But you would still be writing a column for the Jewish News.
I hope so.
Right.
I hope so.
All of our readers, whenever I see them,
Yeah.
they first of all are amazed because they ask about Danny Raskin. They actually ask two questions.
Yeah.
The first question they ask is, where does he get those jokes?
That's a good question. I never know. You know, I started out with just one. I put in the thing. Then I forget who the editor was at the time. After, you know, for space so I put that joke in there. Got a few letters.
Good or bad?
How about some more jokes?
More jokes.
Where I get the jokes, I don't know where I get them. I mean, I get it from this, I get it from that, or somebody may have told it to me at one time or another.
Does Danny Raskin pay for his meals when he's out?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't have to because I'll ask the person for a check. They'll say, the boss is gone, you want me to lose my job? I don't want to be obligated to have to write an article because it's happened that they'll pick up the check when I first started. And then I'll get a phone call. By the way, can you write this about me? Mm-hmm. I don't want that ever to happen again, ever. And that was about over 50 years ago. Danny
Raskin, a good and great man. And I'm hopeful that at our 100th anniversary, that I'll be there.
Well, you will.
But odds are as long as writing is in your blood, as you
Right,
said, and
right.
it's your tonic, I have a feeling you might still be there too.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
So I'll see you then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.